The knock came just after sunset, firm, rhythmic, and unnervingly official. Jack Miller froze mid-step, his hand hovering over the kitchen counter. He wasn't expecting anyone. His wife, Sarah, looked up from the dining table, her instincts sharpening like a blade. The knock came again. Jack frowned and opened the front door, only to find two men in dark uniforms standing on his porch. Their jackets bore patches that read HOA Enforcement Division, something he had never heard of. They wore caps, badges gleaming under the porch light, and carried clipboards with serious expressions. "Evening, sir," one of them said curtly. "We're conducting a neighborhood compliance check. We received reports that you're storing firearms in violation of community safety codes. We'll need to inspect your safe." Jack blinked, confused. "What, that's ridiculous. The HOA doesn't have authority over personal firearms. And what's this enforcement division? I've lived here 5 years, never heard of that." The taller man shifted, his tone hardening. "Sir, refusal to comply will result in fines and legal action. You can either cooperate, or we'll call in local authorities." Sarah stepped closer, her eyes narrowing. Years of military service had taught her to read people fast. Their posture was off. Their uniforms close, but not quite right. Their holsters were empty. And their patches, freshly stitched, not standard issue. "Jack," she said quietly, "don't invite them in." The men exchanged glances. The taller one took a step forward. "Ma'am, we have every right to inspect the premises." Sarah's voice turned cold. "You have no right unless you produce a legal warrant." "Who sent you?" The shorter one hesitated, fumbling through his folder. It's standard HOA policy. Page 37, Section 5. Sarah crossed her arms. "Funny. I wrote that policy." The men froze. Jack turned to his wife, startled. "You did?" Sarah nodded slowly, never taking her eyes off the imposters. "Before I retired, I sat on the HOA board. And there's no such rule or enforcement division." Her voice sharpened. "Now tell me, who are you really?" The taller man's hand twitched near his belt. "Ma'am, please stand aside." Sarah moved faster than either of them expected. In one swift motion, she stepped forward, yanked his ID badge, and held it up to the porch light. It was fake, the name printed crooked, the photo blurred. Jack's heart pounded. "What's going on?" "They're not HOA," Sarah said, voice steady. "They're thieves." The taller one cursed and lunged, trying to grab the badge back. Sarah sidestepped, hooked his arm, and slammed him against the wall. The shorter one reached into his jacket, but Jack, though not military trained, reacted on instinct, shoving him back with all his strength. Within seconds, Sarah had the first man pinned and shouting. "Who sent you? Why my house?" The man gasped, We heard, you keep valuables in your safe." Sarah's grip tightened. "And you thought pretending to be HOA cops would get you in?" He nodded, trembling. Jack grabbed his phone, dialing 911. The dispatcher promised a patrol car immediately. Sarah kept both men restrained until flashing lights cut through the dark. The real officers quickly took over, cuffing the imposters and hauling them away. When the last car left, Jack turned to his wife, still stunned. "You handled that like you were back on duty." Sarah exhaled slowly, her hands shaking just slightly now that the danger had passed. "Once you've seen real threats, you learn not to hesitate. But this..." She looked at him, eyes softening, This felt personal. Over the next few days, they learned the truth. The men were part of a small local crew targeting homeowners they believed kept valuables in safes. They faked Hoa rolls to gain entry. They already robbed 2 other homes. But they hadn't expected to find an ex-military intelligence officer living here. The Hoa president personally visited, apologizing for the scare and promising tighter security. Neighbors gathered at Jack and Sarah's home, shaken by how easily imposters had nearly fooled them. That night, as they sat on the porch together, Jack looked at his wife with admiration. "You always said your training was behind you." Sarah smiled faintly. "Some things never leave you. You learn to stay calm, think clear, and protect what matters." Jack took her hand. "You protected more than the house tonight. You protected us." She squeezed his hand back. "That's what family does." In the days that followed, the story spread through the neighborhood. People grew more cautious, more alert. The Hoa, inspired by Sarah's quick action, began a safety initiative led by her not as an enforcer, but as a teacher. She hosted workshops, teaching residents how to recognize real authority, verify credentials, and defend themselves without violence. Sarah turned a moment of fear into a mission of strength. By the end, their neighborhood wasn't just safer, it was united. And Sarah, once quietly retired, became a silent hero to those around her. As Jack often said afterward, they thought they were knocking on the door of an easy target. "They didn't know my wife was trained to fight for what's right." In the end, the fake Hoa cops came looking for valuables but found something far more dangerous, a woman who refused to be intimidated, and a family bound by trust, courage, and love.